סמך עמוד א', starting from נ"ט עמוד ב', 3 lines from the bottom. בנה בית חדש וקנה כלים חדשים. So if somebody built a new house and he bought new clothing, new stuff, anything, he's going to say שהחיינו. The Gemara going to deal now, what is the definition of new? New means that you never had it before, or new can be that you inherited before and now it's new to you because you purchased it. Or new can be that you owned it before. If you owned a similar item, then it's not new to you. So we're going to deal now what's considered as new. Amar Ravuna, this is the first one, it's called Lishna Kama, the first Lishna, the first version of the Machloket. Amar Ravuna, lo ishanu, when we say that you say, it's going to say Shechianu, Ela Shen Lo Kayotze Be'en, only if it doesn't have any similar to it. אבל יש לו כיוצא בהן, if he has it already from before, if he inherited, on such a case, אין צריך לברך, he's not going to say שהחיינו, because he already had it. This is רבונה, ורבי יוחנן אמר, אפילו אין לו כיוצא בהן, צריך לברך. Even if he doesn't have, סליחה, אפילו יש לו כיוצא בהן, even if he has similar to that, he needs to say ברכה. So you see from here, מכלל, the kana v'chazar v'kana, everybody agreed that if he purchased it and repurchase the same item, divrei hakol, and tzarich levarich. According to everybody, he doesn't need to say bracha. So the only machloket between Rav Huna and Rabbi Yochanan, if he had it before, whether we need to say bracha. So Rav Huna said if you had it before, you don't say bracha if you inherit it. And Rabbi Yochanan said if you inherit it before, you still say bracha. But if you bought it already once and you're buying again, according to both of them, you don't need to say bracha because nothing excited. You already purchased it already once. Both of
them you inherited in situations.
The machloket is when they inherited.
Right. They both inherited. One they never had before, one they did.
That's a machloket. So okay. No. The machloket is when he inherited. According to Rav Huna, if you inherited before and you bought it again, you don't say bracha.
Okay.
According to Rabbi Yochanan, you do say bracha if you inherited it and you bought it. But both of them agree that if you already purchased it and you repurchase the same item again, you don't say bracha.
Because it's not דבר חדש.
כן, nothing new about it.
קיבל איזה בגד ישן משומש.
אם זה חדש לו, זה אותו דבר, אין הבדל.
אז הוא ברך שהחיינו.
כן, כן.
אם בן אדם אישה יכול לברך אותו לאמיתי?
מה?
New wife.
Say Shechianu, because Shechianu is no wife. It's good only for him, not for her.
Incredible, you say Shechianu?
No, under the chuppah. That's why you give him tzitzit.
Talit.
Talit.
That's and everything.
You say Shechianu and him and the new wife and everything.
Oh my God.
כן. assuming she behaves. Okay, ואיקא דאמרי, some says, אמר רב הונא, לא שנו אלא, the מחלוקת is, לא שנו that it's going to say שהחיינו, אלא שלא קנה וחזר וקנה. Only if you didn't buy and bought the second one again. Meaning, if you previously bought it, and now you bought it again, it doesn't need to say שהחיינו. אבל קנה וחזר וקנה, אין צריך לברך. If you bought it and you bought it again, it doesn't need to say ברכה. ורבי יוחנן אמר, אפילו קנה וחזר וקנה, צריך לברך. רבי יוחנן hold, even if you bought it before, and now you bought a new one, you still will say ברכה. Michlal, you see from here.
A separate new item, you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's a similar item.
Similar item, but
Similar
it's separate
item.
items. 2 items total.
Correct. Michlal, you see from here. וכי יש לו וקנה, if he has it from an inheritance and he bought it, דברי הכל, according to everybody, צריך לברך. He needs to say ברכה. So according to the second version of the machloket is, if he bought it before, that according to Rav Huna, if he bought it again, he doesn't need to say bracha. And according to Rabbi Yochanan, he will say bracha. But in a case that he inherited, both of them would agree that he will have to say bracha because it's still exciting. So we have 2 versions. Version 1, the machloket is when he inherited, but when he bought it, for sure he doesn't need to say bracha. Version 2, the machloket is when he bought it already. But if he inherited, according to both of them, he needs to say bracha. The Gemara says, Meitivi, we ask a question.
Banam, the same rabbanim having 2 different machloket?
Yeah, we have machloket. What was their machloket? 2 versions. What was their machloket?
Yeah, okay.
Meitivi, we ask a question. Bana bait chada, somebody bought a new house, ואין לו כיוצא בו, he doesn't have anything similar to it. קנה כלים חדשים, he bought new vessels, ואין לו כיוצא בהם, he doesn't have similar to him, צריך לברך, he needs to say ברכה. יש לו, that's everybody agreed. If he never had anything similar to it, we will say שהחיינו. יש לו כיוצא בהן, if he has similar to it, mean if he inherited, אין צריך לברך, דבר רבי מאיר. רבי מאיר said he doesn't need to say ברכה. Excuse me, רבי דו אומר, בין כך ובין כך, either way, צריך לברך. If he has similar to that, he will need to say ברכה. The Gemara says, Bishlema lelish nekame, according to the first version of the machloket, this braita fits perfect. Ravuna will hold Rabbi Meir, since he inherited, he doesn't need to say bracha. Rabbi Yochanan will hold Rabbi Yochanan, even if he inherited, he needs to say, Rabbi Yehuda, that he needs to say bracha. Ela lishne basre, according to the second language, the second version of the machloket, that on a case they inherited, everybody holds that he needs to say bracha. The only bracha, תודה רבה. מה לא? לא לשבת?
הוא כבר יודע את הדף.
יודע את הדף? זה ככה. אומרת הגמרא. So, אלא ללישנה בסרי, according to the second version, what the machloket is, when if he bought it, whether he needs to say bracha or not. So that's a machloket, but if he inherited, according to everybody, will have to say bracha. The Gemara says, אלא ללישנה בטרה, bishlema Ravuna can hold like Rabbi Yehuda. Ravuna said in a case that he bought it and bought it again, according to him, he doesn't need to say bracha. Only if he inherited, he will have to say bracha. That's similar to Rabbi Yehuda over here, because Rabbi Yehuda in this braita said that if he had it before, he will have to say bracha. Ela Rabbi Yochanan, who holds that if he bought it and he bought it again, will still have to say bracha. The Amar Keman, who would it say like? Lo ke Rabbi Meir, according to Rabbi Meir, you don't need to say bracha again in this braita. Velo ke Rabbi Yehuda, even Rabbi Yehuda in the braita, which said that he needs to say bracha again, only in the case of the braita, which is, what was the case of the braita? If he had it, if he inherited. But it's from the braita, the machloket, it's only when he inherited that according to Rabbi Yehuda he needs to say bracha. That means, according to Rabbi Yehuda, in case that he bought and he rebought again, he doesn't need to say bracha. Then we have a problem. Rabbi Yochanan cannot say neither like Rabbi Meir and neither like Rabbi Yehuda, because the only one who permits to say bracha, Rabbi Yehuda, who obligated him to say bracha, it's only by a case of an inherited. But in the case of a purchase, this baita never said, according to Rabbi Yehuda, he can say bracha. Gemara ends, so Amar lach Rabbi Yochanan. Should I summarize it outside? Yeah? Okay. So we have, that's a little bit require attention. We have two versions. Version one, they're arguing whether if he had it before he needs to say bracha. But if he bought it, he doesn't need to say bracha.
But it's the same item you're saying.
Yeah, everything's the same items. Version two, they're arguing whether he bought it if he needs to say bracha. But if he inherited, for sure he needs to say bracha. The Braita argues only on the case of an inheritance. If he inherited before and he bought it after, machloket, according to Rabbi Meir, he doesn't need to say bracha. And according if he inherited and then he bought similar item.
And what does the Braita say?
Rabbi Meir doesn't need to say bracha, and according to Rabbi Yehuda, he needs. Kos is not the right item, khalifa, the suit. Okay. Similar item, yeah.
But they're different. They're not the same.
Yeah, not the same, similar.
He inherited and then he bought it.
Right, so Braita said he inherited and he bought it. According to Rabbi Meir, he doesn't need to say bracha. And according to Rabbi Yehuda, he needs to say bracha. So now, which version will fit? The first version, they're arguing whether if he inherited, he needs to say bracha or not. That's a perfect fit to the Braita. Exactly similar to the Braita. That Ravuna said in the first version, he doesn't need to say bracha, is like Rabbi Meir, who doesn't need to say bracha. And Rabbi Yochanan, who said that he needs to say bracha if he inherited, is like Rabbi Yehuda, who said in this Braita, that if he inherited, he needs to say bracha. So the first version fits perfect. It's exactly the same machloket. Apparently would be on the second version. Second version, they're arguing only when he bought it and then he inherited. So both of them agreed. I'm sorry, when he bought it and he bought it again, Arbuna hold that he doesn't need to say bracha, and according to Rabbi Yochanan, he needs to say bracha. But both of them agreed that in the case of inherited, he needs to say bracha.
So when you say like two similar items, it'd be like buying a blue suit and then buying another blue suit?
Correct. Now let's try to fit the second Braita, the second version of the machloket into the Braita. So according to Ravuna, only on the case of inherited, he needs to say bracha, but if he bought it, he doesn't need to say bracha. That fits perfect with Rabbi Meir, because Rabbi Meir that fits perfect with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda hold, if you inherit it and then he bought it again, he inherited and he bought it, he needs to say bracha. So Ravuna will fit perfect with Rabbi Meir, that only by inherited he will have to say bracha, but purchase it is not going to say bracha. But Rabbi Yochanan cannot be neither, because what's Rabbi Yochanan hold? Even if you bought it, and bought it again, you say bracha. The Brisa said that according to Rabbi Yehuda, which is the most machmir opinion, he said if you inherited, then you need to say bracha. It seems from the Braita that if he bought it, he doesn't need to say bracha, because the whole machloket of the Braita, it's only by the case of inheritance. So therefore, the Gemara says the second version doesn't fit the Braita. How would you reconcile that? Because Rabbi Yochanan would not be neither of them. Because according to Rabbi Yochanan, both of them, he needs to say, even if he bought it, he needs to say bracha.
Right.
While Rabbi Yehuda says only in a case where he inherited, he needs to say bracha.
Yeah, it's a lot going on, but I got your idea.
I did it.
We need like a whiteboard.
I did it 8 times.
8?
Yeah. So that's
You get a
why.
whiteboard, Rabbi.
נכון. הוא נגניד את עירובים וזה, אוקיי. אמר לך רבי יוחנן, maybe should put over there. אוקיי. מה אתה אומר?
היה whiteboard.
כן, ב-66. אמר לך רבי יוחנן will reconcile the second version like the Braita. אמר רבי יוחנן, הוא הדין, the same thing will be דלרבי יהודה קנה וחזר וקנה, נמי צריך לברך. The same thing will be according to רבי יהודה, if you bought it and you rebought it again, you will need to say ברכה. If so, והאי דקמיפליגי ביש לו וקנה, if Rabbi Yehuda hold, so that's what the Gemara Rabbi Yehuda hold that even if he, guys, I need you. Rabbi Yehuda hold, the Gemara answer. We assume that Rabbi Yehuda hold only when he inherited he needs to say bracha. The Gemara answer no. Rabbi Yehuda will hold even when he bought it he needs to say bracha. If so, ve'ad kamifli gebeyesh lo vekana. Why is the machloket on a case of inherited? If you hold according to Rabbi Yehuda even when he bought it he needs to say bracha. Why are they arguing only by the case of inherited? להודיעך כוחו דרבי מאיר, to teach you the strength of רבי מאיר. דאפילו קנה ויש לו, אין צריך לברך. Even if he קנה and he has it, he doesn't need to say ברכה. That's the strength of רבי מאיר. Even דאפילו קנה ויש לו, אין צריך לברך. וכל שכן, קנה וחזר וקנה, אין צריך לברך. בחידוש of the Braita, באמת, the Braita arguing, שומע, also by purchase it. According to Rabbi Yehuda, even if he purchases, he needs to say bracha. Why we didn't say it in the Braita? To give it the chidush. That according to Rabbi Meir, when he purchases it, he doesn't need to say bracha. Not only when he purchases, he doesn't need to say bracha, even when he inherited, he doesn't need to say bracha. That's why the machloket of the Braita, it's on a case of inheritant lechadesh. That even by inherited, according to Rabbi Meir, he doesn't need to say bracha. That's a chidush of Braita. That's why the case of the Braita is by inheritant. Lechadesh of Rabbi Meir. That even by inherited, he doesn't need to say bracha. That's why they argue on inheritance. They're arguing also on kana, when he purchased it. But the reason the Mishnah is talking about inheritance, to give you the highest chidush, that even by inherited, he doesn't need to say bracha, according to Rabbi Meir. The Gemara says, "Veliflug bekana vechazar vekana." Skip those 3 words. Leodiacha kocho de Rabbi Yehuda. You saying that they argue by inheritance to show that Rabbi Meir, strength of Rabbi Meir, doesn't need to say bracha by inheritance. Said, let's argue by a purchase to show the strength of Rabbi Yehuda, that even by purchase, he needs to say bracha. Why are you emphasizing the strength of Rabbi Meir when he doesn't need to say bracha by inheritance? Let's argue on purchases to show the strength of Rabbi Yehuda that he needs to say bracha even by a case of a purchase. The Gemara answer, koach de etera adif. The koach of eter is better, meaning whenever we have machloket, we want to show the strength of the most lenient opinion. To be machmir, it's easy. To be lenient, it's much harder. So therefore, since Rabbi Yehuda says he needs to say bracha. by קנה וחזר וקנה, לא, הוא מחייב אותך, he's obligated to say ברכה.
אז רבי מאיר.
That's why we bring the case of inheritance to such a strength of Rabbi Meir, that even by inheritance, still he doesn't need to say bracha.
But what's this whole why don't you say like Mara, like Rabbi Meir says, what was the opinion that you don't say according to inheritance, you wouldn't say bracha? What's this whole comparing to see and this?
No, because we want to know what the machlok is. We assume they're arguing only by inheritance. Now we bring an understanding to argue also by...
But you just said the whole point was to realize that they're arguing by inheritance. So
no, to serve this. No, they argue by both. The reason we spoke about the case of inheritance to serve the strength of the leniency of Rabbi Meir.
So what's the inclusion? Both by inheritance and purchasing, they don't necessarily bracha.
Halacha like Rabbi Yehuda as far as I remember, but I didn't look into it.
Okay.
weiter. מברך על הרע.
רבי יהודה אליבא דרבי מאיר?
הלכה...
רב הונא זה רבי מאיר.
בדרך כלל ברבי יוחנן בדרך כלל ביהור.
כן.
קנה וחזר וקנה מברך.
המשך רבי מאיר.
אוקיי. even קנה וחזר וקנה, להלכה יש לרבי יוחנן. מברך. Yeah. That's practically, you buy a new suit, if you're excited from it, then you say ברכה.
Even if you, let's say, sell it to a friend and then buy it back.
No, not the same item.
A
new item. No, everything here is a new item, but similar item.
עכשיו,
Got you.
אתה קונה הוא בבוס, אחרי זה אתה קונה, לא הוא בבוס.
קניתי שתי
Check out the sharpness first month.
both were blue.
That's good. So you're not as excited on the second one.
למה? אחד עם דאטס, אחד בלי דאטס.
You should do the jacket with dots and the pants without dots. Then you have two similar suits. Okay. מברך על הרעה. So with the first white line, we said that it's going to say bracha on bad things כשם שמברך על הטובה. So, לא, מברך על הרעה מעין הטובה. The Mishnah said he's going to say bracha on something bad similar to the good and good similar to the bad. So the Gemara says, איך אדם did something bad which is also good and he's going to say the bracha on the bad. כגון דשרקל בדקה בערה. This is classic to Florida. I'll translate it to Florida in a minute. Talking about that a flood came into his house. אף על גב דתבה היא לדידי, even though it's good for him. למה?
Insurance.
Later on, דמזגה, הסרטון בשבחה, if a land, after a while, when a land flooded, everything grows much better. All of
The soil is good.
associated, right? Ashtamia, but now it's bad. So now it's bad, you need to say Dayana Emet. Later on that is good, it's fine, but you gotta leave to experience the moment. So classic case insurance claim. ועל הטובה. ועל הטובה, איך ידע מטובה, which is eventually bad. What's considered? איך ידע מכיוון דש כך מציאה, he found an object, אף על גב דראי לדידי, even though he bad for him, because eventually, דחישבה מלכה, if the king will hear that you found, the rule was, anybody who find anything must give it to the king. That was the law. So if the king gonna heard that he found it, he's going to take it from him. Shakim is going to take it from him. However, Ashtamia, Tovai. Now it's good. It's good. Live the moment. Don't worry what's going to be tomorrow. Now it's good. Enjoy. הייתה אשתו מעוברת if his wife was pregnant. ואמר, יהי רצון שתלד אשתי. אז יהי רצון, my wife would give birth to a boy. Too late. הרי זו תפילת שווא. false תפילה. כמו says, ולא מעני רחמי. Doesn't help to pray. We have a story that a prayed help. מיטיב רבי יוסף, ואחר ילדה בת, לאה gave birth after, ותקרא את שמה דינה in her. The name of the girl was דינה. מהי ואחר? What's after? אמר רב, לאחר שדנה לאה דין בעצמה ואמרה. After לאה making a din on herself and she said, י"ב שבטים עתידים לצאת מיעקב. There are 12 tribes supposed to come out from יעקב. 6 יצאו ממני, 6 already came out from me, ו4 מן השפחות from the female wives of יעקב, הרי 10 that's all of 10. So we have 2 more left. אם זכר זה, if this boy will come out to be male, לא תהיה אחותי רחל כאחת מהשפחות, my sister רחל will give birth only to 1 boy. She's not going to be at least like one of the female slaves, at least to have 2 boys. מיד, therefore she prayed right away. מהפכה לבת, she turned into a girl, שנאמר, ותקרא את שמה, דינה, called her name דינה. So you see that you can pray and change from a girl to a boy.
Even after the bring, right?
הנה, מאפter, the Gemara says, answer 1, the תשובה יפה. The Gemara says, answer 1, אין מזכירין מעשה ניסים. Answer number 1, that's a miracle, שכוח.
You don't reference a
You
miracle.
don't reference a miracle.
Right.
I mean, this is talking about regular people who pray. כן, by the way.
אנחנו אמרנו בת לבן.
Oh, no. You're right, but I mean, can you change? The Gemara says, but we see was a change in the sect. The Gemara says, no, it was a special thing. It's a miracle.
What was the original,
but in general, you don't pray.
case that they were saying if
If somebody knows his wife is pregnant, Yeh Ratzon should be a boy.
Too late.
It's
That's
too
it
late.
before.
even though you don't know what it is,
Huh?
even though you don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, but the fact doesn't know, cannot change it. It's already something. It's already a boy.
You
I
have
mean,
to pray
whatever it is.
before.
It's too late to pray.
Yeah.
You can only do it before then.
Pray before she conceives, right?
Yeah, ויהי בהתאמה, no one more, ויהי בהתאמה, מעשה דלאה בתוך 40 יום העבד. The story of Leah was within 40 days. כדתני, like we see the following way, how do you pray? 3 ימים ראשונים, for the first 3 days of the pregnancy, יבקש אדם רחמים שלא יצליח. For the first 3 days, that a man intimate with his wife at the time that she is ovulate, he needs to pray that the seed, his sperms, will not be,
Bad.
bad, right? משלושה ועד 40, from 3 days until 40 days, יבקש רחמים שיהיה זכר. That's the time to pray, to have male. מ-40 יום ועד 3 חודשים, for 40 days until 3 months, יבקש רחמים שלא יהיה סנדל, shouldn't come out flat, without a face, meaning his face will be מעוך, כבש. משלושה חודשים ועד 6, from 3 months until 6 months, יבקש רחמים, שיודע רחמים שלא יהיה נפל, shouldn't be a miscarriage. מ6 ועד 9, from 6 until 9, יבקש רחמים שיצא בשלום, יבקש רחמים, should come out בשלום. וכמו אז, מי מעני רחמין, those praise helps, ואמר רבי יצחק ברבי עמי, how can you pray בכלל? It's already pre-said by the time when she's conceived. Why? איש מזריע תחילה, if a man conceive, if a man has the desire to his wife first, then יולדת נקבה, she'll give birth to a girl. אישה מזרעה תחילה, but if men made her to be excited, and she's the one who was excited first, תחילה יולדת זכר, she's going to give birth to a male. שנאמר, אישה כי תזריע, וילדה זכר, a woman will conceive and will give birth to a boy. So if she excited first, then it will be a boy. So how come you can pray when it's already predetermined? כמו סדחה במעסקין, כגון שיזרו שניהם בבת אחת. The only case that it's up when both of them got excited at the same time, and then you can pray. I heard of Ovadia giving in the shiur, because Iraqi, you know, my mother is Iraqi, having girls, you know, it's a big shame. It's a lot pashut. When I had my third girl, I called my mom, Ima, ונודע לי, בת, מזל טוב וזה. Then she called me half an hour after, אריה, לא נורא, זה בסדר. So Ovadia Yosef, I mean, I heard him, someone says in the shiur, זה אחד, מתעצבן על אשתו, מה הביאה לו בת? A lady told me that her father never went to the hospital if it was a girl. לא נעים, you know?
That's alright.
You don't go. So he said, and they were upset. He said, a girl told me, a girl, she was 30, my father never forgave my mom, she gave him only girls. So Rav Ovadia said in the shiur, he said, מה אתה מתרגז עליה? זה אתה אשם, זה לא היא. Because of this Gemara.
Because of this one.
Yeah, you're supposed to make her excited
first.
Yeah, so it's your fault. What do you want from her?
I mean, I don't know what's so bad about the girls, but we need girls to keep the world going.
I tell you what, now there's a lot more girls than guys in the world. It's
Right.
crazy.
And especially now the guys become girls, huh?
Even less.
תזריע, צריך לגרום לה להזריע קודם, לשמור על עצמו. זה פשוט. היה בא בדרך. If somebody was going on the road, תנו רבונון, מעשה בגלל הזקן, שהיה בא בדרך, הזקן was going on the road, ושמע כל צווחה בעיר, and he heard a screaming in the city. אמר, מובטח אני שאין זה בתוך ביתי. I know for sure it doesn't come from my house. ועליו הכתוב אומר, on him the pasuk says, בשמוע רעה לא יירא, he wouldn't be afraid from bad news, נכון ליבו בטוח בהשם. His heart is straight and trust Hashem. The Gemara said, explain this pasuk the following. Amar Rava, kolechi dedarash la'ikra, any way you doresh this pasuk, you're learning it, mireisha lesefa, you can read it from the beginning to the end, and madrish, you can learn it, and misefa lereisha madrish, from the end to the beginning madrish, which means, mireisha lesefa madrish, you can read it from the beginning to the end, mishmua ra lo ira, what's the reason a man would not be afraid from a bad news? Matam, what's the reason? Nachon libo batuach b'Hashem, his heart is trust straight and trust Hashem, therefore he wouldn't be worried. Misif lekra midrish, you can read it from the end to the beginning. Nachon libo batuach b'Hashem, if somebody has straight heart and he trusts Hashem, then mishmua ra lo ira, he wouldn't eventually be afraid from anything bad. ההוא תלמיד, there was a story of תלמיד, student, דאבק האזל בתרד רבי שמואל ורבי יוסי בשוק, as he was going after רבי שמואל ורבי יוסי in the market of ציון, במרקט of ירושלים, חזי רבי שמואל saw the student, דקה מפחיד, he was afraid, אמר לי, חטאת, you are a sinner, תכתיב, פחדו בציון חטאים, who's afraid of the ציון? חטאים, sinners are afraid. אמר לי, והכתיב, that פסוק says, אשרי אדם מפחד תמיד, fortunate man who's always afraid. אמר לי, ההוא בדברי תורה כתיב, that's only on דברי תורה, you shouldn't forget your learning, that you should be afraid for. Anything else? חש ושולם, you shouldn't be afraid. יהודה בר נתן, אבי שקל ואזל בתרד רב אמנונה, יהודה בר נתן was going after רב אמנונה. איתנח, he sighed, ואמר לי, what's wrong with you? יסורים בי, ההוא גברה ליתו ינפשה, this man wants to bring suffering on himself. דכתיב, הפסוק אומר, כי פחדתי, because I was afraid, ויהיתני and came on me, ואשר יגותי, what I was afraid from, יבוא לי, will come to me. So if somebody is Zion, afraid from things to come, and is worried about it, it will cause them to come to a... So you ask him, והכתיב, אשרי אדם מפחד תמיד, first time is always afraid, כמו says, לא, הוא, בדברי תורה כתיב, you should be afraid. אוקיי, אני נכנס לכרך. Somebody goes into the city, we're talking about the city, that the Gemara going to say that they didn't have the proper judgment system.
Real quick, when you say when they're afraid in Divrei Torah, it's just to forget their learning. Is that what they're afraid of?
Yeah, to acquire and to forget the learning.
I got you.
Michal Shadrisabad was going into the city. Tanu Rabbanu beknisato. We enter to a city. This is a city. The Gemara would explain that they don't judge properly. מה הוא אומר? יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקיי, שתכניסני לכרך זה לשלום. Hashem, please bring me into this city.
Jewish city?
Any city that they don't judge and people do whatever they want. So he doesn't know what's going to happen when he's going to be in the city. So before he enter to the city, he's going to say, יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקיי, שתכניסני לכרך זה לשלום. Should bring me into this city, into peace. נכנס, when he walked in, אומר, ברוך אתה השם, נכנס, אומר, מודה אני לפניך השם אלוקיי, שהכנסתני לכרך זה לשלום. Thank you for bringing me into this city for shalom. ביקש לצאת, when you want to come out, אומר, before you exit, יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקיי וכאבותיי, שתוציאני, שתק me מכרך זה לשלום. יצא, when he came out already, אומר, מודה אני לפניך השם אלוקיי, שהוצאתני מכרך זה לשלום. Thank you השם for getting me out of this city for by peace. וכשם שהוצאתני לשלום, the same way you took me out from this city by peace, כך תוליכני לשלום, if you walk me for peace, ותשמחני לשלום, you're going to separate me for peace, ותצילני לשלום, you should walk me with peace, ותצילני, you're going to save me, מכאן כל אויב ועורב בדרך, from all of the enemies and any tragedy on the road. אמר רב מתנה, when do we need to say this ברכה before and after entering to a city? לא ישנה אלא בכרך שאין דנים והורגים בו. Only on a city there is no righteous system, there is no judgment. Justice. Then, אבל בכרך שדנים והורגים בו, let להם בה, כרך that people are going to kill, I mean, there is a justice, then you don't need to say. בעתיק אדמרי, some said, אמר רב מתנה, אפילו בכרך שדנים והורגים בו, even in a city there is justice in it, yet, זימנין, sometime, תולו מתרם אלאיני שאלף לסות, זכותה. Sometime, you're not going to have a man who's going to give, מלמד זכות on you. So since we worry not going to be a man who מלמד זכות on you, we don't want it to happen.
So here and here,
so
we both
therefore,
say.
either places, you need to say the special תפילות and יהי רצון. תנו רבנן, הוא נכנס לבית המרחץ. Going into the shower, it used to be very risky sometime at the time, people got fainted and died. So נכנס לבית המרחץ, I'm going to go into a bathhouse, אומר, יהי רצון מלפניך השם אלוקיי, שתצילני מזה וכיוצא בו, you should save me from here, from this bathhouse, and similar to it, ואל יראה בדבר כלכלה ועוון, nothing bad will happen to me. ואם יראה בדבר כלכלה ועוון, if something will happen to me, תהיה מיתתי כפרה לכל עוונותיי. I guess will be כפרה for all of my sins. אמר אביי, לא טוב. אמר אביי, לא טוב. לא לימי שחי, a man shouldn't say that. לא לפתח פומיה לשטן. He shouldn't open his mouth to Satan. דאמר יש לא כשפחתן למשנה רבי יוסי, לעולם, never, על יפתח אדם פיו לשטן. A man shouldn't open his mouth to לשטן. אמר רבי סבא, זה פסוק, עונה תכתיב, in איכה, בני ישראל said, כמעט כסדום היינו, לעמורה דמינו. We were almost similar to Sodom and Amorah. מה הדרלו לוי? What the Navi responded back to ישראל? שימו דבר השם קציני סדום. Listen דבר השם, the general of Sodom. So they said we were almost like Sodom, and they said yes, you are like Sodom. כי נפיק, when he comes out, מה אומר? אמר רב אחא, when he came out of the bathhouse, מודה אני לפניך השם אלוקיי שהצלתני מן האור. Thank you Hashem for saving me from the fire. כמו says a story, רבי אבא הוא על לבי בני, רבי אבא came to the bathhouse, אף חית בבני מיטוטי, the floor broke from under him, and on the bottom you used to have all of the fire on the bottom of the bathhouse. So if it's broke, you land over there.
Furnace, that's it.
You say goodbye. You want to say, תרחש לניסי, the miracle happened to him.
become קורבן.
קורבן עולה, כן. תרחש לניסי, he had a miracle. קם על עמודה. And it was a pillar?
A pillar, yeah.
A pillar came out, and he was able to stand on it. Shaziv, he held on his hand, 101 gavre, bechad avre. He was holding people that each one were hanging on each other. 101 people he was holding, saving them from the fire. It was a miracle, obviously. Amar, I know the Rabbi Acha. This is what Rabbi Acha said, that you gotta pray before, you do good Rafael, you gotta pray before you're coming to a bathhouse. Last piece for this Amud, הניכנס להקיז דם. somebody who comes to let blood out, אומר, יהיה רצון מלפני השם אלוקיי, שיהיה עסק זה לי רפואה, this business will be for me for medicine, ותרפאני, should give me רפואה. כי אל רופא נאמן אתה, you are full רופא ורפואתך אמת, היא רפואתך, it's right, ולפי שאין דרכם של בני אדם להתרפות, אלא שנהגו, we have to add word לעשותם. Because we're not supposed to get medicine, but the custom is to go to the doctor, so יהיה רצון של בי רפואה. אמר רבי לא לי מי נשך, you shouldn't say that it's not, you're not supposed to get, to go to a doctor and it's only a custom. Why? דתני רבי שמואל ורפו ירפא. הפסוק בתורה, מכאן, very good, last week, מכאן שניתנה רשות, מכאן שניתנה רשות לרופא לרפות. The doctor has permission to cure. So don't say נהגו, כי therefore it said, אלא, זה said, השם, please give me רפואה שלמה, but don't say because I have no choice, that's a custom. כי קאי, when it comes, nothing you have to say, when it comes out, מה אומר? after רופא, אמר רבך, ברוך רופא חולים. The version of it to say, ברוך רופא חולים. חינם, but it's really ברוך רופא חולים, you have to say. See it, גימל over there? You have to say ברוך רופא חולים. Can you? New page.